Hi, my name is David Poland, and I'd like to welcome you to Portland Film Beat. Tonight, my guest is Nick Bremer Korb. He's a writer, director, cinematographer, and editor. Welcome aboard, Nick. Thank you for being here.
Great being here.
Okay, you graduated from New York University with a degree in opera performance, and you were an editing assistant on 2 operas. Okay, first of all, what is opera performance? What is a degree in opera performance?
So opera performance basically means that I'm a singer. So I went to college. I actually spent my first year at NYU as a theater major, and then transferred into the opera program. Wasn't that good an actor. So, so I transferred into the opera program, and what that is it's intensive voice training, it's performance, it's vocal.
Okay.
So it's all classical voice.
So how did that transition into a film making career? Because you worked editing and shooting and producing some operas and stuff in New York, right?
Yes, absolutely. So I graduated NYU in 2008, and we all know what happened in 2008.
Wow,
I did not graduate into a good economy. I had what's called a BM, a Bachelor's of Music. It's not the most useful degree. Mm-hmm. And I was, to sort of top it all off, I was really burnt out on performing. After 4 years of it, I decided I actually didn't want to be on the stage.
Okay.
So that left me at a little bit of a loss, but I figured I've got a degree in music, in classical music, and I still had a passion for classical music, and I started hitting the pavement and talking to people at arts organizations, talking to sort of people in that world, see what maybe I could do. And I ended up with an internship, 2 days a week at the New York Philharmonic Orchestra.
But that wasn't, you were working more in the production department then, right?
I was actually working at a department that was brand new called New Media. And for the first year I was there, I didn't touch anything involving production at all.
Oh, really?
It was spreadsheets. It was, it was filing, scut work, that kind of stuff.
But it led to
it did, yeah,
becoming an editor and filming and camera operator.
Yeah, it did, because at a certain point we were doing an opera, and we had a small budget to do an archival recording. Mm-hmm. And
right.
So we had a camera. It was we did a three camera shoot of this opera. And when I say 3 cameras, I mean we had 1 camera on 3 different nights. And as any editor will tell you, that is a sinking nightmare. It took hours and hours and days and days and weeks and weeks.
It's a different setup each night.
It's a different setup each night. Each performance went a little bit differently. The performers were a little improvisational.
You know what? I'd have to think that was a nightmare for an editor.
It was a nightmare for an editor, and the way it had to go was that we had to choose a night where we took all of the audio from, and then just sync the rest of the clips by hand. So every edit had to be hand synced.
Oh my gosh!
And we're not talking with a clap. We're talking like looking real close to make sure their lips line up. So it was
that had to be
a long and grueling process, but it was
Did you learn
instructional.
A lot from it?
Yeah, it was very instructional.
You learned a lot from it, though, right?
Yeah.
So at the same time, is that when you were doing interviews? And you've interviewed some pretty famous people there, right?
So at this point, this is the first time, more or less, I had been roommates with a film major. I had a vague interest in film production before this. But this is the first time I've ever done anything even vaguely film related. Right. And I got bit by a bug.
Okay, so that's when you got it.
Yeah, as much as this nightmare sounds as much as this edit sounds like a nightmare, and as much as if anybody were to walk into my office and tell me this was the situation today, I would tell them what to do with themselves. At that point, I got bit by a bug. I loved at that point, I loved editing, and we were at the time producing a lot of these interviews and a lot of content sort of in support of these concerts. And what we were doing is we were hiring it out,
Right.
and it was very expensive. And
But
it was, I don't want to say it was bad, but it was not consistent.
But you did some famous people.
I did.
Can you say their
Yeah.
names?
So what I ended up doing was I sort of raised my hand and I said, look, we can move this in-house, send me some classes, we'll make this much cheaper, and we'll make it much better.
Good for you for
And
being
so-
proactive on that and taking control.
Yeah, and so I ended up getting to shoot with some of the, of course I went and I took night classes and I really, really studied my butt off to figure out how to do this. And I ended up getting the opportunity to shoot with some of the biggest names in classical music, Emanuel X, Geffen Bronfman, Long Long, names that
But you also worked with some named actors.
Yeah, and then I also worked with Alec Baldwin, who was very involved in the New York Philharmonic and still is,
Okay.
and was at the time, and I believe still, the voice of the radio program.
Oh, really?
So after I'd started getting involved with editing, my first real production responsibility was that we had this radio show, New York Philharmonic This Week. It's syndicated. I believe it plays here in Portland area. And Alec Baldwin was the host of the radio, of the radio show. He'd get on he'd be the person who got on the air. He'd say, up next is Beethoven's Ninth, and here's some backstory about that.
Right.
And so my job was he would come in and he would record 3, 4, 5 episodes at a stretch.
Right.
And of course he'd do a couple takes of each line. And of course he'd have to pause and take a drink of water and
But
cough
that's great
and all
experience
that.
for you.
And yeah, my job was to edit that all down and pass it on to the producer.
Right.
And so for a few years actually, I edited Alec Baldwin for the radio. I've heard literally probably hundreds of hours of Alec Baldwin talking.
Enough you don't want to hear any more about it. So did that lead to any other directing and editing projects in New York? And what are a few of them?
Yeah, it did. So once I had started shooting these interviews, it sort of snowballed into, I became in charge of all, fairly quickly over the course of about 2 years, became in charge
Because of your
of...
passion, work led to more work.
Exactly.
Good for you.
Became in charge of pretty much all video coming out of the New York Philharmonic, or most video coming out of the New York Philharmonic.
Because they're pretty, I would think they would be big sticklers on quality.
Yes, for the most part, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they would do some cell phone video type, like behind the scenesy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of, the way we wanted to present,
The Philharmonic.
the Philharmonic and the way we wanted to present the sort of luminaries of classical music, it behooved us to make them look good.
Good. So,
If you don't make people look good, they don't come back.
so why did you come to Portland from New York?
Um,
Couldn't have been just the economy.
Yeah, it wasn't just the economy, although, certainly the cost of living in New York had something to do with it. I spent about 10 years in New York, about 5 or 6 years at the New York Philharmonic. During the time at the Philharmonic, after the first opera, I had the opportunity to edit another full opera that ended up getting wider distribution through Medici TV. Which is a classical music television station that plays in Europe and streams online. I post-edited 2 concerts, and when I say edited, at this point we're talking not 3 cameras on 3 nights, or 1 camera on 3 nights. Now we're bringing in 10 cameras.
On one night.
On one night.
Yeah.
And
You're getting a full coverage on that.
getting full coverage.
It's easier to sync.
Yes, easier to sync, and then we're doing a live edit, and what I'm doing is, at this point, is post-editing. I'm also assistant producing, so I've got input
You're wearing a number of
into...
hats in that situation.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
Anyway, so how did that lead you to come to Portland from New York?
So, I had done a lot of shows. I had directed a 10-camera shoot at a certain point on headset, and I thought, I've got this fairly major body of work
Talent
right now.
and skill set that you feel confident in.
Yes, I was feeling pretty confident about my skill set. I was feeling good about my resume. And I sort of looked around at the production landscape of New York. And first of all, there wasn't a really great stepping stone from being in-house someplace to being a part of the wider industry.
You'd be a part of the wider industry here in Portland.
Exactly. It's a very established industry there. It's very, I mean, in the same way that LA is, you know, it's a start at the bottom and work your way up kind of place. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And I certainly believe that that experience is important. But, you know, just thinking about what I want to do with my life, I wanted to be doing bigger projects, and I wanted to be
more in charge,
more in charge, more involved than, you know, showing up and being an assistant for years.
So you have your own production company. Actually, you do have another job, but you do your own production company. Who are some of your top clients? I mean, I have them listed here, but
yeah. So my wife and I run a small boutique production house, where I'll do what I've done in-house for a client.
Right, well, we're going to watch your reel in a few minutes, but it's got a lot of good stuff on it. Commercials.
Yeah, exactly.
The film that we talked to Jason Reynolds about was yours. So,
so you know, what I'll do in-house for the companies that I'm working for is that I plan a project, I execute, I light it, I shoot it, and then I take it and I edit it. And we go through that whole process, and I might hire people, of course, to assist and do all that.
Crew.
But in general, what you're hiring me for is expertise. And so clients I've worked for, I still do a fair amount of client work for the New York Philharmonic.
And do they send it to you and you edit it here and stuff?
Exactly.
Oh yeah. A lot of times you can do it electronically though.
Yeah. So I do work for them, although they've replaced my position. Over there, they still send me overflow work. I've worked with the Portland Symphonic Choir. I've worked with.
You have worked with the Portland.
Yeah.
Okay.
I worked with Power Past Coal, Friends of the Columbia Gorge. We've done some work with Top Shelf Comics. I did
got that
listed. A little animatic that I did for in promotion of a comic a couple of years ago called WYSIWYG. And then
it also says Ghost Ensemble. What's that?
Ghost Ensemble is a new music ensemble operating out of New York. I've done work with them.
And Right to Survive.
Yeah, Right to Survive. I worked with them a little bit, not in a production capacity. I actually went in and taught a guerrilla filmmaking class with them, which was a lot of fun.
What's Right to Survive? I don't even know.
Oh, so Right to Survive is a not-for-profit organization based around homelessness and homelessness advocacy.
Good for you. Good for you.
Wow. And then my day job, or I should, my in-house job right now, is I'm the in-house video for Clark College, which is the community college in Vancouver, Washington.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And so
we're all very aware of it.
Yeah. Yep. And so I work with in the marketing department, and I do video for YouTube, sort of the day-to-day stuff.
Good for you.
I just finished up a little thing for commencement, and all the in-house video that needs to be done. So I'm doing, and then I direct and hire a crew and produce and direct their television spots.
So when did you start your own video production company? Because it's with the body of work that I've seen, it seems like you've done it for a few years.
Yeah, I have freelanced. I've freelanced for for about 5 years now. I think we actually incorporated 2 years ago, but I call it 5 years.
Okay, so how about right now we take a few moments to watch Nick's reel, and we'll be right back. Thank you. That was fun to watch, Nick. You did, I talked with Jason Reynolds on the show about a short film you did. We showed the whole thing called I Have a Surprise for You.
Yep.
So did you direct it and shoot it, or what was your role in that?
So I Have a Surprise for You. I directed, and I guess you could say produced, although it's not like we spent any money on it, so I'm not sure how much of that there was. But I sort of gathered in the group along with the director of photography, whose name is Brad Norton. But that actually started life as a 100-hour film festival short.
Oh, did it? Okay.
So
have you done other ones like that, or the 48-hour?
I've been crew for 48 hours before, but I'd not directed something like that. But I wanted to do a personal project. I hadn't done any personal work in a long time, and so I was like, all right, I'm going to do this.
And where'd you get the script? Because you didn't write it.
No, I didn't write the script. A very talented writer by the name of Isaiah Leiva, and I think I just mispronounced that, but
That's
apologize, okay. Isaiah, if you're out there. He joined the team, and basically it's a 100-hour film festival, so you get a prompt, and then you write the script and shoot the whole movie right then. So that's 100 hours, about 4 days.
That was a lot of film to be shot in 4 days. Let me tell you, it was actually really good quality. You must have used a good quality camera. And did you have a sound person there?
Yeah, we had a sound person by the name of Arjuna Dingman, AJ, who's awesome. Highly recommended.
We had a lot of great actors. Jason does a good job.
Jason does a great job.
It was fun to watch.
Yeah.
Because he came across as creepy in that. He wasn't a creepy person.
He's not at all a creepy guy.
But I know he does. I've talked to him a lot.
And it's interesting because when we sort of, you get the prompt, and then you have to write this script. And Isaiah went home and wrote actually 2 scripts overnight.
Wow.
Because he is a rock star. And woke up in the morning, and we did a half a day of pre-production and a half a day of rehearsal, and then we shot for 2 straight days and edited for 1, and we
were very tired on the last.
We were very tired on the last, and I was editing on a computer with which I was not familiar, and so I misjudged the export time, and we missed the deadline by 30 seconds.
Oh no, that's because it was a great film. I think it would have done really well.
I think it was a blessing in disguise, because then we owned it. It was ours. We didn't have to associate it with the festival.
There you go.
And then we've been submitting to festivals and showing at other places, and it was on this show, and it turned out very well.
Quick commercials we saw in your reel, How do you come up with ideas when you're given a project to start with?
So this is interesting. So what I'm doing usually is I have a team of people that I'm talking to, and we're given parameters. We get a brief.
Yeah.
So in the case of Penguins Fly, which is the most recent pair of spots that I did, which you can see in full on my website, which is nickbremerkorb.com. It's nickbremerkorb.com.
Right, why don't you tell them, actually right now, take a second, we'll talk about the Penguins, Steve. Tell them about your website and to go see it.
Yeah, so
let's talk about you do ads, promos, narrative, music videos, and live events.
Yep. So I do TV spots. I've had, I think, 12 TV spots on the air at this point, regionally, but still.
That's good.
I do industrials, promo type stuff, corporate videos. Narratives, obviously, we're just talking about a short film that I did. Music videos. I've done a few of, both branded
live
and
events,
otherwise.
so you do weddings too, we saw that, right?
Yeah, I don't do weddings, but I do, if someone were interested in having me shoot, say, a concert, I would have the knowledge to bring in cameras and a fly pack and all that.
Okay,
and
so
crew up for that.
Out of all those things, ads, promos, narrative, musics, which one is your favorite?
I really like doing commercials.
Really? More than narrative film?
I would say I like the money that I make doing commercials, and the creative
I get it.
freedom that I get, or not creative freedom, but the creative juice that I get from doing commercials. So narrative is great, and I love doing short films, but I'm not one of these people.
One of the things though about narrative, you probably get to work with more actors and a little bit more collaboration with a team than you do on a commercial, I would think.
It's interesting. Yes, to a degree. But I mean, commercials can be very collaborative.
Oh, I was on a commercial shoot one time where it was a national one. They had, I bet, 75 crew people there. I was like, for a commercial, yeah, and it was like they're pretty intense.
I was like, I mean, commercials that kind of commercial, if you think about it, is the most expensive media by time, because you're talking, you know, a feature film is $300 million, but it's also 200. It's also 2 hours long.
Right, but you know, this thing was ended up being like a 30-second spot, and it cost them over $1 million to make it.
Yeah. Yeah, so one of the great advantages that I've been able to bring to Clark College, being in-house, is that really
you save them a lot of money.
I save a lot of money. I save them a lot of money by being in-house. We shoot 2-3 spots for what the cost of hiring out one would have been, and I'm, you know, I live with their brand every day, so
yeah.
and you know, I put a lot into them.
So do you yourself write a lot?
I don't write a lot. I don't consider myself primarily a writer. I am working on a screenplay right now.
So you are? Is it a feature?
It is a feature. It was going to be a short, but it's turning into a feature.
Good.
And you know, I've written here and there.
So I have to ask, do experiences that you've had at the Philharmonic and things like that, is that part of the story, or is this something else, just another fictional type thing?
It's fiction. It's I mean, of course, I think
things have played into it.
Things have played into it, and life plays into it. But the idea of it is it's a little bit of an internal journey.
Right. Okay.
And I don't want to say too much because it's very.
We'll get you back on here
amorphous.
When you get a shot.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll talk about it and show a little clip from it.
I would like that.
So, being an actor, or one who has trained as an actor, now you're a director with a narrative film. How do you work with the actors?
So,
being a former actor, it's got to give you some juice on how to work with them.
It has been really helpful, very, very helpful, because I know what an actor is trying to do, which I think a lot of directors that are looking for a result don't necessarily.
I was reading a thing where actors should direct sometime and directors should act so that they can all understand what's on the other side of the coin.
Yeah, and you know, you have, it's very difficult because you've got this film and or this project, and you have in your head how you want it to be and how you want it to sound, and it's so important to let go of that to an extent, and try to find what about what you were thinking
story in which
is important, important to you. And what an actor wants to know isn't so much how do I want this to sound, because that will never work. It will never come out right.
No, it
what
doesn't.
they need to know is what they're doing.
The action.
The action.
What is the behavior?
Right.
It's all about behavior.
Exactly.
It really is.
So, you know, if you have to start first with what is your character doing right now? Why are they saying this? Why are they doing this? And once that's understood, if you're still not getting the same performance, it's like, well, okay, maybe they are that action is the same, but imagine your character is using a different set of tools.
Right.
Because
so
you can
you work with them on actions instead of here's your emotion.
Right. Exactly. I
That's
never
good.
try to say, you know, I never try to
Because an
give an
emotion's
emotion.
not going to be there. It's going to look false.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to look false. So, being a
Exactly.
cinematographer as well, and you've had people who are cinematographers on your shoots.
Mm-hmm.
How do you work with them then? As someone who knows what's going on with the camera, how to use the camera. Do you have any difficulty with that sometimes?
I have not had anybody who. I've worked with a few cinematographers, some of them pretty excellent. I would say that so far everyone's been pretty appreciative that I know what I want.
Oh, good.
And I can probably step on some toes because I'm very used to working alone or you know with an assistant and not necessarily with a crew because I work in-house, so I'm used to setting up my own lights and running my own camera, and so I walk in and I know how I want it to be lit, and so
yeah, you do that too, lighting. So,
to a certain extent, I'm asking. What I can be pretty specific about. I would like this fixture here, this fixture there, and that fixture there. And then what I'm looking for from a cinematographer is to plus it, is to give their perspective and add to that, and also to take care of all the things that I don't have time to take care of because now I need to go talk to the actors.
Since we're talking about these things, what are your strengths as a filmmaker?
My strengths as a filmmaker is I think that I understand every step of the process because I do it. I've done pretty much every step of the process. There's an idea of jack of all trades, master of none.
The auteur.
You know, I try to. I think I've you know, I take it through every step of the process. I try to go very deep with certain things.
So do you think one of your weaknesses then is that you do too much, you invest too much?
I think one of my weaknesses is that I've worked for almost 10 years in-house as almost a one-man show.
Oh, and so you're used to doing all that.
So I'm used
it's
to
hard
doing
letting go a little
everything.
Bit.
So there's a letting go, and then there's just an unfamiliarity with sort of the ebb and flow of a set with a lot of people. And I've worked on sets with crews, and I'm getting my sea legs, but learning to delegate and also learning to remember that other people might want to take a break sometimes.
You don't.
I can. I have definitely had the experience of having 10 people standing there. What I need is an assistant director because I've had the experience.
Someday you'll have that.
Oh, hey, we've been shooting for like 10 hours straight now, and maybe you guys might want to eat something.
Right now, we're going to have to wrap this up. I really want to thank Nick for being here and getting a perspective of all the things that he's done and do, and going from opera to making his own projects. And I want to thank, there's a bunch of people I want to thank. I want to thank Ellery Nelson, my director. I want to thank Carol Poland, my assistant, my executive producer. Sue and Phil Holmes, I want to thank them for their help. And until next time on Portland Film Beat, shoot for the silver screen.